Okay, we're back for more, and now you're going to see if you're paying attention. My screen looks a little different from the end of the last video. Since I was getting ready to move forward, I saw that with this tutorial data that I'm borrowing from here, this neighborhoods feature class is similar yet different enough from this other one, this Pittsburgh Tracks feature class that they also had provided. I thought they were close enough where we could just use one. Not the case for what I want to do. It's kind of frustrating. And they're also slightly different. If I like looking over here, a little offshoot, you can see there's a distinct polygon here and a distinct polygon there, whereas in the track, it's all one contiguous thing. All right, and there's some differences in boundaries, so they're slightly different. And as I said in the last video, I don't know Pittsburgh. I don't know if that's significant or not. So what we're going to do is instead, just looking at one, we'll bring both in and we'll see what we can do with this stuff. Because one of these has population, the other stuff has area. So I included both. So that said, I'll hopefully remember to put this in Canvas. But your geodatabase that you download will look like this with some extra stuff in there as opposed to those 3 feature classes I talked about in the first video. Okay, so that'll be clear. And look, I ain't going back and re-recording that first one. We will bandage it and move forward. I also just threw in, just in case, there's this Pittsburgh feature class. It's just city limits, if you want it. I kind of looked at it, I was like, just throw it all in there so I don't have to go back and, fix it again later. But that's just kind of more for, your final map, the layout, whatever your end product is. Okay, so there. That said, I'm going to hit save, because I don't know when the last time I hit save was. Now, we're going to get into some statistics here, and descriptive statistics, and kind of some basic stuff to start with, just like, we've already kind of done this, but just looking at like how many crimes. Right click, open the attribute table, and it was 5,000 something. Well, yeah, 5,230 of these serious crimes. I think these are all allegedly from 2015. As I said in the last video, a lot of this stuff has been altered to protect the innocent and all of that. So I don't really know what's going on, but we're going off the idea that this is real, legitimate data. So for this year, let's assume it's all took place in 2015. That's how many serious crimes occurred. Just that number, just that, the sum of these crimes, that can be quite useful. A very useful thing when looking at this stuff is to get multiple years and see are the sheer number of crimes, are they going up? Are they level? Are they going down? That can tell you a lot. And quite often when you're working for different agencies, that's part of what you do. It's not this crazy statistical analysis. You're just whatever data you're interested in. It's a case of just how many occurred last year, how many occurred, this year so far, that kind of stuff. So being able to open this up, get a sense of just how many of something there is, that's great. That's useful stuff. And a case where, too, you might have, we can do stuff in here, and we'll look at some of these things as we're moving through. But I always have some kind of notepad, something next to me, so I can quickly write out, some numbers like this. 2015, 5,230 crimes, serious crimes occurred. Later, I might put that into an Excel spreadsheet or some Word document or something, but I'm just able to write this stuff down, keep track of it. So that's good to get in the habit of. We can also, looking at this, one nice thing about this, crime feature class is they've got some useful information in terms of not just what the crimes are and where they took place, but when did they take place. This time occur, it's in military time, so like, you know, 9 would be, 0 100 hours 9 minutes is how I'm reading this, or 48 minutes. So that would be what, 12:48 a.m. Right? That would be 1 a.m. right there, and then we move forward, and we 1400 hours, all that. That's what we're looking at there. We also have over here day of week. So a bunch of Monday, Sunday, when did it actually occur during the week? That could be interesting to look at. And this is something Boba in her book on crime analysis, all that gets into that. And it's something that you might not really think of if you're not from this world. As I was saying in the first video, if you're not some crime analyst, you might not be thinking in terms of these things. But she pointed out in the book, as I was reading through the stuff, that when is it occurring is relevant. And then I checked and saw this was there and went, cool, we can do something here. And so what we can do is we could just kind of go through and take notes on stuff, but 5,000 records, that's a lot. Instead, we're going to make the computer do stuff. We're going to right click, we'll do the time one first, and we've got a few different options here. We have explore statistics, visualize statistics, and summarize. These are all ways to have it, quickly calculate some basic things about your data. The sum, max, min, mean, stuff like that. We're going to do visualize statistics. So if I left click, it throws this chart right here for me and gives me some information over here. And so basic things, mean, median, standard deviation, max. Now this is kind of weird because we're talking about time. It's treating it like this 23:59 would be 11:59, right? 1 minute before midnight. But it just thinks it's 2,359. Has no clue what this is. So it gets a little confusing and kind of weird to look at. And what we could do, can we come in here and change any of that format? I don't know. Again, this is what I think I've said before. Yeah, I kind of like doing this more in Excel anyway. But regardless, what we got here, we can get a sense of when things are taking place, when they're not taking place. Well, that's interesting. This 589. Do we have more like that? 368? Is that? Oh, maybe that's just a number they threw in. I don't know. Interesting. Not worth our time here because we're just playing around with the data. We'd want to investigate some of this stuff. These numbers that don't quite make sense and get at what they mean, right? Because you can't have it be like 2:94 a.m. That's not how time works. So that's why it's a little confusing in there. So if that is the case, because this has happened with me, I've encountered some databases that have been poorly put together, and I need to make sense of it. And you get stuff like this, the case where things just don't make logical sense. You got to start talking to people. And with crime data, these are things where, it's some officer encountered that, or it's being reported to the person or whatever. But you need to talk about the people who oversee the data collection. Actual officers themselves get a sense of what some of these things can mean. A lot of this, it's not just you sitting at the computer, it's you going and talking to people, working with them to make sense of it, right? But let's just say all this made sense and we knew what all these things were. We could look for trends. Like, clearly it's very safe, either at 5:16 or 5:89, whatever time that is. but kind of early in the morning, not as much, maybe later at night. There's more stuff, although some things kind of dip down. Who knows, right? I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of interesting to look at the data. Maybe in working with other people who really understand crimes and how they work, when they happen, stuff like that, maybe somebody else can go, oh, that makes stuff clear, right? You're not going to understand every single thing you do or know, like what this really tells you with everything you do, but it's still interesting. But this timing is kind of a mess. So I'm just going to close it. You could, if this were great, right here, and you loved it as is, you could export it as a graphic, like a JPEG or whatever, to put in some PowerPoint that you're going to deliver, some report, or just save it for future reference, export it as a table, capture it to clipboard so you can paste it in something later. But that tool is there, right? And pretty quick and easy to do. I'm just going to close it because it's weird. But if we go back here, same deal. Day of the week. Let's do visualize statistics and hope we don't have like Quaz Day or, okay, these all look, like real days of the week. So Monday, look at that. That's when the crimes are taking place. The serious crimes, they happen on Monday, followed by Thursday and Friday are pretty close, and Sunday. Wow. I don't know. I just say wow because, like, who knew? I guess Monday, maybe we're all kind of more frustrated at the weekend's over. We're a little irritated, so we go stab people. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's no big deal. And again, this is why having multiple years could be good. Maybe that was just this weird one here in 2015, but 2016 through 2020, it was all Fridays where all these crimes took place. Maybe this is an anomaly. Maybe that's actually normal, right? And maybe this tells us that, hey, if we're sending patrols out, out and about, have these cops driving around on Mondays because everybody is stabbing on a Monday, right? Whereas Wednesday, that's when we clear like vacation time and stuff like that. Again, I don't know, but this could be useful. So these are just kind of simple statistics, but don't let that simplicity, detract from the fact that this is really useful and very easy to do compared to going through all of these 5,200 whatever dots that I see on here, like, adding this stuff up. The computer does a lot of the work, saves us, we could take a week. In some cases, we can do it instantly, like we did. So that's pretty cool. All right. But, well, some cool stuff. Let's close this. I'm a geographer. I'm a person who does spatial science. So I don't just care about, when is it taking place. I want to know where is it occurring. And we've got that. It is displayed here, but it's also kind of confusing with some of this stuff. And even just these numbers, like looking at the raw numbers and all of that can be a little confusing. Is it a lot? Is it not that much? Like, I don't know. It can be overwhelming. But connecting it to place and doing some, instead of the raw numbers, doing some rate analysis here can make it useful. A little more easier to handle, I'll say. So with this, let's first do what's called a spatial join. So in here, I'm going to type in spatial join. So this first one here from Analysis Tools. Joins attributes from one feature to another based on the spatial relationship. What I want to do is effectively have it count all of these crimes that happen within these neighborhoods. And as I said, because it's kind of weird, we're going to do it with both the tract feature class and the neighborhood feature class, just to see some of the differences and be able to do some different stuff in here. Okay, so with spatial join, our target feature, it's going to be this, for what we're doing, our polygon feature class. So I'm going to do this Pittsburgh track feature first. Join features will be crime offenses. I just why offenses? I don't know. It's okay. We do that. We'll use the filtered records. Again, interested in these serious ones. Output feature class. Give it a name that is meaningful. I'll keep that Pittsburgh track. I'll just put crimes right there, okay, because that makes sense. We have join one-to-one, join one-to-many. We're going to keep it one-to-one. It'll work for what we're doing here. I'm going to uncheck keep all target featured. Oh, no, actually, I'll keep them. So it'll get rid of things that I don't have crime, which might be some of these, but we'll just keep them all. And if it's 0, that's actually relevant. So we'll leave that. Match option, intersect. You've got some, different options in here. Intersect is what we want, right? Where that point intersects the polygon. Search radius, fields. This can be useful here. You can get rid of some of these things because you can just have a lot of stuff if you need something a little more simple. But I'm going to keep it, again, just because I'm kind of making this up as I go, and I'm not exactly sure what is going to be useful, what isn't necessary. But I'm going to leave it like this. Hit run. See what happens. And so it gives me, and I despise this, where it gives it the same symbology. So you see here on the left in the contents pane, I've got that Pittsburgh tracts _ crimes. That's my new one I just made, but it looks the same. I can't visually see that something is different there. That's not helpful. But here, if I right click and go to attribute table, this join count, that's the good thing right here. And the idea being, let's pick one of these. Hurry up here. If I zoom, well, this isn't going to be as easy to see, but it's saying there are 7 crimes, which I could go in, and there are probably some points that are underneath other points and all of that. But it's saying join count is 7 altogether. This one, where it is, had 54 altogether. So that's the idea. This one has 0. And sure enough, you look at it, doesn't seem to be any crimes. This guy here looks like it's in that one. Okay, so that's what we have. We still have all this other information in here in terms of what some of these crimes are. And the whole one-to-one, it just left the record for one of these. So like the crime record stuff, not useful. All the initial tracked information, the population stuff and all that, a little more useful in here, as we'll see. So I'm going to clear this. And then I'll do the same thing, just to have it, where I'll switch from the tracks one to neighborhoods. Keep crime offenses. I'm going to call this one... neighborhood _ crime. Keep everything else the same. Hit run, just so I have it. And here, same thing. Yeah, heaven forbid we give a different color, but at least it's something new. And same deal. If I can click on it. Here, join count 157 crimes in that area. Right? So we can start to get a sense of per neighborhood what's taking place, right? Which neighborhoods have more crimes, which ones have less crimes, and all of that. Now, the problem is, like I clicked on this one, right? And it said 157 crimes. You go, my goodness, how dangerous. But at the same time, this is a pretty big neighborhood, right? It's a bigger area in here. I don't know how many people say necessarily live here compared to other places. That could be a huge amount of crimes. Might actually not be that big a deal compared to some of these other places. But just these raw numbers, as I said earlier, can be a little misleading. So what's really useful is to turn it into a rate, right? Crime rate, when we hear that, we tend to say it, typically we use per 1,000 people, persons in an area. So we'll say, a crime rate of 14.6. You hear something like that, and it's kind of weird. What's 0.6 of a crime? But we're averaging things out and all that. And we take the number of crimes, we divide it by the population. Typically, it gives us a little number that's kind of meaningless, so we multiply it by 1,000, meaning it's, how many crimes take place for every 1,000 people in the area. Okay, that's the idea. And a higher number is going to mean more, but it's a way to compare places, to kind of get a sense of, we eliminate the issue of bigger areas, smaller areas, and we have more comparable numbers. So we can get a sense, like with the city of Pittsburgh, which areas are a little more, intense in terms of the crime activity. So to do that, we don't have, anything in here for this already. So let's just add a new field. And we'll call this one, we can do it all in one. Let's call it crime rate. And it gave me a little red thing there. I'm guessing, there's something already called crime. That's what it was warning me of. For type, we're going to do float so that we can have a decimal place if need be. And we'll leave everything as is. I'll hit save up here at the top. And so we should have it over here. I'm going to close this thing so I don't need that anymore. And so at crime rate, let's right click and do calculate field. Okay, so input table, all that stuff is fine. And so crime rate. Okay, this is where we're going to do this thing. We're going to take the number of crimes, which is our join count. So I'm going to double click that. Okay, divided by our population would be total pop right here. Okay, times, and then in here I'll just type 1,000. Okay, and it's a case with order of operations and all that. This should all work beautifully, hopefully. So I'll go ahead, I'll just hit apply. See if I can get something in here. There we go. Beautiful. Good Lord, 388, nice. Certain rows are null. Oh, because we already had 0. So it's just saying, math, it's fine for what we got. So that worked. I'll hit OK. It's like this null one right here, because if there are no crimes in there, it screwed it up. But that's fine if we don't have that. So now we have this crime rate, and I can click like right here. I should be able to scroll down and wait, did I miss it? Is it not? Oh, where did it go? Did I miss that? Which one? Neighborhood crimes. Oh, that was the track crime. Hold on, that's why. Because I did the other one. Oh, and that. Well, dang it. Okay, whatever. So I'll click on that one. I see. I was backwards on stuff. Crime rate is 14.93 for this one I clicked on. Whereas this one, crime rate is 4,000. No, it's not. Unless the population. Mother of pearl. Where's our total population is 1. So there's one person who lives here? One dude? Like fun. And how many crimes are here? 4, yeah, okay, that all tracks right there. This poor guy. Or is he the criminal? I don't even know. Oh, I wonder if that... Okay. So not all of these are great. Again, what we're learning is how... First off, check your data. Right off the bat. All right, so we'll ignore that guy. Let's click on this guy. What's this guy here? Okay, crime rate of 107.14. That makes a little more sense. So we see some limitations here with this stuff. So our total population, it was 616 people, and joining at 66. So there you go. Okay, that works. Clearly, this thing is trouble. Now we can do the same thing potentially. Well, let's turn this back on. Did this have to see? That says 0 people. Okay. Interesting. Did I screw this up? I thought that didn't have anything. Hold on. Hold the phone. It's a neighborhood. And it doesn't have population at all. Did I hit the wrong thing? Now I'm confused with what I've done. My goodness. Okay, it's okay. This is GIS, he says to himself, to account for the fact that he's making this up as he goes and didn't come to rehearsal to see what's working. This is what you would get in the classroom as well with me, just so you're aware. It's not like this is what you get with online class. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stop this. Right, I'll stop the video because you don't need to see me scratching and going, what? I'm gonna stop it. And maybe you saw it as you're going through, as I'm clicking stuff and thinking about what I'm doing and not paying attention. Maybe you saw something, maybe not. But I'm gonna pause this, see if we can get a sense of why I am confused. The next video will have some answers. So fortunately, there's stuff we did here was useful with the kind of earlier, simpler statistics. The spatial join still makes sense and all of this stuff, hopefully. Just this crime rate thing. There's some interesting things at work here. It's also goes to show I don't work with crime stuff that much. I'm just trying to make it a little sexier. But yeah, there's a reason why I don't do a lot of this crime stuff, because it's confusing to me. So, okay, stop. Answers to come. See you later. Okay, rather than, I'm just starting this again. I got what happened. And this is weird, but I get what happened here. And so I'm just going to stitch this on to the end of the last thing I was recording. My goodness, one of these years I'm going to be really professional. It was bugging me, so I gotta finish this now. Well, I'm thinking about this, and then the next actual video will be new stuff. Here's what happened. Because I just switched the target features in here from the Pittsburgh tracts to neighborhoods feature class, it didn't reset everything. So the fields that it has here, these all came from that tract feature class, right? But in here, which one is it? This one? No, this one. It's just over this way. So it threw in the total population, male, female, and all of that. It just filled it in with 0 because it didn't have any data for it. That's why I got all confused. The whole reason why I brought in that Pittsburgh tracts feature class was because it had population data. This one did not. So that's what happened. Very bizarre. So, and I assume what I could do is I could just close out of this, open up spatial join again. It would clear this and have it match the actual neighborhood feature class, the target features I'm interested in. If I needed to, as I was going through here, I could just click on these, hit remove. I don't know if I can, I can click one, shift, click the next one, remove. So I could get rid of this stuff if it kept doing that. And I could also probably just save, shut off ArcGIS Pro, open it back up, and it would be cleared. That bugged me with this stuff, where all of that came from. Okay, so does that make sense? Hopefully. What happened here when I did the spatial join with the neighborhoods feature class and the crime offenses point feature class, that still worked, right? Join count works right here, so I can trust this. It's just all of this here is useless. And what I should be able to do if I right click, hit delete, are you sure you want to permanently? Yeah, it's useless. I can just, kind of select some of these, delete some of these values. There's so much of it that is useless. Let me just get rid of that. Yeah. Get rid of it. But what I do want to do in here, so I saw, actually I do have this square mile field in here. And it's useless. It's all 0 and doesn't work. But this is something that could be useful. The population thing with like that one where there's one guy and he's constantly being stabbed, or he's always committing crimes or whatever, and we have a crime rate of 4,000. That kind of didn't work out. But what I could do, another way to solve this problem of being able to compare areas, is I could use the number of crimes, that's our join count, right here, and divide that by square miles to get a sense of the area itself. It's kind of like a population density thing that we're going to do. So with this, I should be able to do, because it is projected, and it's, with that projected coordinate system we talked about before, this should all work fine. If I right click on the square mile one up at the top, calculate geometry, left click that. Okay, and so with this, geometry attributes, field existing or new is a square mile. If I hit the drop down, I want, just area in here. Area unit, square statute miles will do just fine. The coordinate system, oh, son of a gun. Ah! Look at this. This is why we save, folks. I did too much. It said like, hold on, I'm having a little trouble. That showed up on my other screen, and then it's got this. Hey, click send report. We'll fix this problem. We analyze every report. Like fun you do. I'm not. No. Oh, okay, so let me. This is the greatest exercise yet. All right, I'm opening up ArcGIS Pro again. What do you want to open? How about the thing you closed? The back. Oh, it has a backup now. Would you like to recover your? Yeah, I would. Let's see how that works. And so with this, neighborhood crimes, had that stuff deleted. That makes sense because we permanently deleted that. Looks good enough. Okay. So as we were, it looks like it's saved. I can actually save it because there's a good chance it's going to crash again. Right click, calculate geometry. Come on. Okay. That's good. Property, area unit, statute, square statute miles. Okay, we're getting further than I did. Coordinate system. We can pick any of these. They should all be the same, but it's a state plane, Pennsylvania, and so we're able to really do this and have it be accurate and all that because it is projected. One of the many reasons why we want to do that. And I'm going to hit apply. Okay, and I got some values in here. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit save. But now we have in here join count, number of crimes, and the square miles of these different neighborhoods, right? So we can actually compare that. And what we can do, we could go in and do some math with this stuff, but this is something where GIS actually kind of all works. here. So it's neighborhood crimes. We'll highlight that, and you just right click and go to symbology or find your tab in here. But instead of single symbol, we can do graduated colors. All right, and so join count would be, that's awful. Let's get something that's more, single color progression. In fact, let's not do blue. That looks downright pleasant. Let's get red, evil. That's kind of pink. Come on, I want. Okay, sorry. Okay, we'll go pink. All right, so let me move out. Let me turn off. I'm going to close all these things here. I'm going to hit save. So what this is showing me here, when I look at this is kind of stuff we've done before. It's showing me the number of crimes per neighborhood, who's got more, who's got less. But what we can do is get into this normalization field here. And this is what, like that crime rate, where we take the crimes and the population, we're dividing one value into another value. GIS uses this term normalization. And I don't know why exactly. To normalize your data and your database, it comes from, I want to say it's like the 70s. And it's certain rules to, storing and maintaining data and like eliminating redundancy and having unique identifiers and things like that. It was a practice. It's also a case where, as I was told by one of my professors, I can't seem to find, I've been trying to look it up, I haven't seen it, but the guy who proposed good database, practice and all that was a big pothead. Loved the marijuana, the jazz cigarettes. And so that normal was like there's an organization. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know how any of this works now that things are legal in some places and all that. But there was this group like Normal to normalize smoking weed and all that. And so this was this guy's way of kind of like, it's like calling it 420 or whatever. This is what I was told. I choose to believe this. Apologies if I'm, slandering some database guy who did that. But that's what I was told. They use this here, and it just makes me think of drugs all the time. I don't know why they do this, but whatever. So in normalization, hit the drop down, and we can use our square miles. And what this will do is take into account the size, right? And we see some things change here. And it's showing us here this join count divided by square miles. And so it's saying that, it's taking into account how big of an area we're dealing with. If I go back and hit none, let's look, like this area here, crime-ridden, this is, the den of evil, okay, in this guy. Now let's go here and do square mile. Not so bad, right? But some of these smaller areas, you can see, they might not have as many crimes as some of these other places, but when you think about how small they are, it's actually a lot of crime going on, right? So that's what we're dealing with. Now, this other one, since we're here, let's go ahead and symbolize this crimes with our crime rate that we had. We'll do graduated colors. Now, what we could do in theory is in the normalization do total population, but we went through in the table and we came up with a crime rate thing. Now this is going to be amusing. Let's do that, the 4001. So this isn't necessarily helpful because of our outlier, our weird 4001 right there, which I think was this one, right? Join count 4, one dude. I don't know if these other ones, join count 4 people. Okay. Just all of that seems very weird, but I don't know Pittsburgh. I'm not here to judge. 10 and 11. This isn't working for me. If I have to present this, let me put it this way, and then we'll end this video. If I'm going to some like Board of Supervisors meeting or City Council meeting or whatever, and I need to present on what crime is looking like, what the state of the city is in terms of crimes taking place, where we need to allocate resources in terms of, officers out on patrol and neighborhood watch programs and all that. And I present this, and I go like, yeah, this is the spot. That's awful. And then somebody's like, wait, I know the guy. There's one guy who lives there, and he's constantly getting stabbed. That's where we're going? That's not good. That's not good spatial analysis. That's going to be embarrassing. With this one, so with that, I could go in, and I could kind of clean up the data, question some of these things. Is there really just one guy who lives here? There's actually nobody who lives there. What's up? But with this to me, just from what I'm seeing and not really delving into it, this seems like a more accurate representation of what's going on in the city of Pittsburgh, right? And I could also, if I needed to, I could calculate square miles for my tract boundaries itself. I could use that. But this is what I would do if I need to show where crimes are taking place. Okay, make a map like this. Probably wouldn't do a fuchsia scheme. I would make it look a little scary and intense because that always helps to drum up some funding for your stuff when people are freaked out by it. But that's what I would do. Okay, so as we're going through, there's a lot of stuff we can do, but as we're doing this analysis, we always have to be questioning, what are the data telling us? Are the data to be trusted? Are there some issues? And we go through and we clean that stuff up. All right, we're going to save what we got in case it crashes. This has been quite, hopefully, enlightening to see how this works. And to stop this, the next video, we're going to do some really hardcore stuff, some real cool analysis just to play around with these things, get a little more heavy duty in the statistics with that. All right, so now I got to stitch some of these recordings together, get this going, and I'll see you in the next one. All right.